Hello, Mark.
Senator Democratic Congresswoman Lois Frankel sold stock in First Republic before the federal government seized it and gave it to Chase, essentially. She also bought stock in Chase, JP Morgan, in that same time period. If she had inside information on that, that would already be criminal conduct and could be prosecuted. You want to raise that legal standard to tell members of Congress, hey, if you want this position of privilege, you can't even hold stocks like that just to avoid the appearance of impropriety here. Should she face investigation?
Well, I'm sure there will be, and there should be, a threshold investigation to make sure there's no insider trading, which you just mentioned, Mark. If she did that based on information that only she had, that is not generally available to the public, that is illegal under current law. But it ought to be unethical across the board. I mean, no member of Congress should be buying and selling individual stocks for reasons just like this. Because the truth is, even if members of Congress don't get technically insider information, it is true that members of Congress nonetheless get information that is aggregated for them. They get directly briefed on issues that, frankly, the general public just doesn't have the time, or they don't get it presented to them on a silver platter in the way that members of Congress do. So that reason, besides the fact, listen, members of Congress shouldn't be spending their time thinking about how they're going to day trade on the stock market. There's no reason for that. They should be focused on doing what their constituents sent them here to do. So I would ban stock trading, stock ownership across the board for all members of Congress and members of the executive branch and leadership positions. I just think that this is an obvious thing to do.
I think you've even said something to the effect of you feel so strongly about this because even that appearance of public corruption enrages you. Last time we spoke, you didn't dispute the documented facts around Clarence Thomas, that a billionaire GOP mega donor was paying for lavish vacations. We've since learned more. But what you did, though, was you questioned the motives of the people who brought those facts to light. We've now learned that the same donor has bought Clarence Thomas's mother's house, allowed her to live there rent-free. And now just today, ProPublica reporting further that this donor was spending $6,000 a month in private boarding school tuition for his grandnephew, someone who he took in, had custody over, and called a son. So far, the defense has been, well, they're just friends. Senator, I don't know. I've got friends. We go to a baseball game, or they might pick up a tab, or they'll send me a Christmas card, but they're not sending me to exclusive vacations and resorts and paying for families' tuition. Do you really think Clarence Thomas would be getting this treatment if he wasn't sitting on the Supreme Court?
Listen, I think the question is what he's doing, is what he's alleged to have done, has any of that violated the law? Has any of it violated any ethics laws? Has it violated any reporting requirements? And the answer, as far as I can tell to all those, is no. Which brings us back to, what is this really about? And I think we know the answer to that, and we got at it in our hearing earlier this week when I talked about the letter that a bunch of Democrats have signed, where they say to the court, we're going to compel you, that was their word, compel you to do what we want you to do by withholding funding until you stop being recalcitrant. That was the big word they used. I mean, this is congressional coercion using money. By the way, just so happens exactly the same amount of money that the court has asked for security is what these Democrats want to withhold. Now, if that's not a dog whistle, I don't know what is. So
everybody agrees that the justices should be safe.
You want to talk about across-the-board ethics reform? Fine. We were just talking about stocks. I don't think members of the Supreme Court should buy or sell a stock. I mean, I do a uniform rule across the board. So that's one thing. But going after members of the court to try and delegitimize them and trying to compel the whole court to do what you want by threatening them, I think is wrong. And it raises serious, serious constitutional issues.
I think everybody agrees public officials and the public should be safe.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Last analogy, let's just swap out the characters real quick because maybe we can see this issue more clearly. Just this week, the U.S. Attorney landed 4 criminal convictions against power player lobbyists in Illinois because they were giving jobs or other benefits, things of value, to allies and friends of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan in attempts to influence him and corrupt his position of public trust. They went down for conspiracy and bribery. They may go to jail. If you can't do that at a state house, why should you be allowed to do it at the Supreme Court?
Now, Mark, I think we need to be clear here that there are no allegations of that kind of criminal misconduct, any kind of misconduct about Justice Thomas, right? I mean, if there are, I'm not aware of them. Nothing that I have seen reported, nothing alleges any ethical violation under the rules he's subject to. In fact, there's not even reporting violations. It's not even like he filed the wrong paperwork. He wasn't required to disclose any of this stuff. Now, we can have a debate about whether the reporting requirements ought to be different. But I just want to be crystal clear here that it's not as if like, oh my gosh, the guy is out there and doing all this stuff and it's illegal. That is simply not the case, not on what has been alleged. I mean, look at Justice Sotomayor, who I gather got $3 million in a book deal and didn't recuse herself from any of the cases surrounding the parent company. Is that unethical? I mean, we can have a debate. It's not required, though, currently, under the ethics rules. My point is this. If you want to talk about across-the-board ethics rules, I'm here for that. If you want to ban stock trading government-wide, I'm here for that. I mean, I think we've got major ethics issues in government, no doubt. If you want to tell the court, though, we're going to threaten you, we're going to go after you, we're going to threaten your security, we're going to threaten your funding, we're going to turn the lights off in your building, unless you start doing what Congress tells you to do on any host of issues, I think that is a huge, huge problem. And I think that's what the Democrats are doing here.
I thought you were in a position to call that kind of conduct out. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, Mark. I got to go talk to your colleagues. Talk to you soon.